Hello, Mark.
Hello, Ian. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing? What's new?
Excellent. New? I don't know about new, but an update on the sourdough front. I know you've been waiting for that.
Love bread
I think
stories.
I told you, I don't know, a couple months ago, a few weeks ago, my wife was into baking now, which is fantastic. It's like I got like an upgrade after I got married. I don't know if I can say that, but
A little personal bakery.
it's been good. We've had tortillas, pizza dough, crackers, cinnamon rolls, just loaves of bread. Um, and I'm not really a big bread guy, but it's delicious. Having it fresh
Sourdough.
is like it's like a bakery in my kitchen. The weird part though is we named it Wanda because you have to feed it, it has to grow, and apparently it doesn't work until you name it. That's what the internet says. And so
And it's never wrong.
our starter is called Wanda. And so the kids at night
Gosh.
say that we have to go feed Wanda. I have
Like your own little
notes saying
alien
don't turn on the
symbiote.
fridge, Wanda's in the oven, or don't turn on the oven, the Wanda's inside. Yeah. So it's
It's
like,
like part of the
okay.
family now, right? It's this little symbiotic
It's
creature.
I don't know if
That's
it's
in this
symbiotic or
glass jar.
parasitic, but
Yeah, we'll find out. Just don't it's like it sounds amazing.
it is.
I hope Wanda lives for a long time. It continues to be fruitful and plentiful and give you all the sourdough you guys can handle, and I will gladly eat whatever you feed me.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
well, we have a fantastic selection of stories today.
Yep.
I dare
Don't.
say the best
Yeah.
yet.
What are they? Just don't keep us waiting. What do we got?
Best sports to play as an adult,
Okay.
and then we have EV vehicles,
EV
electric
vehicles.
vehicles,
Yeah.
EVV, ATM machine.
ATM machines. Yeah.
Right. And then we have our wild cards video games. So,
Those sound great. Let's just go for it, right?
So 3, 2, 1.
Let's
Get into it.
They really don't care what they talk about. They just want to have a good time while talking online. Let's get into it.
Sports.
Take
Yes.
us away, please.
And it's sports with a lowercase s, right? So basically, we all kind of go through a similar growth process in middle school and high school. You play sports together. Some people become athletes, some don't. Maybe you play baseball or football, you're a multi-sport athlete. Maybe you specialize, you're just a gymnast, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go to college, most people don't play college sports like professionally, maybe intramural or a club team. You kind of graduate out of that. You start your first job, you play like in a social sports club, and then you're in the middle of your 30s, your middle of 40s. What do you do, right?
What do you do?
What do you do, Ian?
For me, I do a lot of physical activity. It's been something that's been a really important part of my life for many years. I've been running pretty consistently since about 2004. That ironically coincides with my graduation from high school, where I was doing sports on a team, structured. Never the best athlete, never the worst athlete, middle of the road, fine.
I would say above average, but
above average JV. I don't think I was really the varsity material, but anyway. So 2004 hits, and I'm on my own at college. I'm not doing college sports for the reasons that I just described. Not good enough. So I do running. Running is, it's for a lot of people, it's the ultimate solo activity.
Yes.
It's the activity where you find yourself, ironically, you find your legs, you find what you like. You find out if you can be alone with your own mind for 90 minutes, which some people just can't hack that.
And or a good podcast, right?
Yeah, and really my love and appetite for podcasts went through the roof when I basically decided that I appreciated hearing podcasts over music. And so I started dabbling in podcasts, and I've been doing it ever since. And
you're training your mind and your body at the same time.
Right. Feeding the soul and the legs. Also in the last 5 years, I've done the social sport thing. I've played dodgeball, kickball, even combat archery.
Yeah.
And, harkening back to what you said, those are the team sports. That kind of is not a substitute or, for the being on a professional team or a structured team. But, the idea is these are individuals, in their 30s, they're through college. They still like sports, but
do you think
they want to do the social thing?
The draw, I would say the social sports, is it more about the social and maybe even the drinking versus the actual sport?
It is basically. I mean, you can do it that way, or heck, you can just go and you can bowl your 3 games with your team, and you can enjoy meeting new people and working on your bowling game. And they're not badly priced. I mean, it's maybe $70 for a season, and you get 7 games in a shirt and structured.
They're fun.
They're fun. So I haven't done those too recently. Pandemic notwithstanding, things took a little bit of a backseat. And I guess the third thing that I want to talk about is maybe not as much physically doing the thing, running and jumping and playing the sports, but coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a bit of coaching. I've done soccer a couple of years, preparing to do basketball in the near future. So I'm kind of thinking about what I would do drill wise. So obviously you demo the drills, you kind of participate alongside the kids, but it's not the same as, running the show in terms of like doing it, but it's also a lot of setting up cones and yelling instructions. So,
you didn't mention,
I know
you've been playing this, Ian, is pickleball.
Yes.
The last couple of years.
Yep.
Which our audience may not know pickleball. Some do, some don't.
We'll have to put a description in the show notes. That's our ultimate like get out of jail card.
Yeah.
Pickleball. Yeah, I've been playing that for a few years. It didn't hurt that free park facility put up a bunch of courts 3 miles away from me. So it was almost like destiny, right? Field of Dream style. It's really fun. I mean, what I like about it is you can play. It's usually four people, so it's 2-on-2 doubles.
Yeah.
So you get that social aspect. It's not too physically demanding. If you guys can picture a tennis court, picture a fourth of the size of a tennis court. That's kind of your zone. So there's not a whole lot of places to run. You're obviously in motion and moving and bending and sort of hitting the ball, but it's not as rigorous.
I was going to ask you, why do you like that versus tennis or like pick up basketball? Yeah. Is it just because it's less physically demanding?
No, I actually it is
physical. I think
it is physical. I mean, I happen to have played tennis a lot back in the day. Took a long time off, and so I've sort of always been drawn to racket and paddle sports, and I like a new challenge. And like I said, it was close by, and the cost to enter the sport is you can get a paddle for $20 at
get your Wilson paddle
goods.
Yep.
So basically, there's not a whole lot of upfront cost, and you can talk while you play. There's table talk. There's friendly banter.
You can play with a bunch of people or outdoor, right?
Indoor, outdoor. Obviously, the indoor comes with the cost usually, where the outdoor one is basically, I mean, for lack of a better term, it's free to play.
Pay through your taxes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell, in a large nutshell. It sounded like, honestly, I gave quite a bit of myself there. But what about you, Mark? What is your physical activity in your mid-30s?
Yeah,
what's it look like?
It's a transition. Still finding it. I played pickleball. As well.
You were one of the guys, one of the four.
I like doing these activities where you kind of get to hang out while doing something physical. You know what I mean? Like a sport. But I did learn, I think I don't like being competitive with friends because then you get bad blood occasionally, and that's just no fun. I'm there just to have fun,
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, busy with work, busy with family. So I dabble with running, not as committed as you, like to. We did buy an exercise bike a couple years ago so I can go spin in the basement. And I have been investing over the years in kind of building like a home gym setup. And this was like pre-pandemic. I started.
This is like an Iron Palace you got going on here. This is nice.
Yeah, me and The Rock are gonna hang out. I think one of those things I've read is like strength training lasts much longer as you age than maybe some of your other like burst or quick speed fitness sort of physical traits. So your strength can last longer. So I definitely want to do more. Yeah, it's not bodybuilding, but strength training, weightlifting, or whatever, just at home.
What do you like about running? What was the draw for you there?
Yeah, it's definitely not about like a calorie burn. Like that is nice, but it's about being able to walk up and down the stairs without running out of breath. Right.
So kind of maintaining that base level of fitness, keeping yourself loose, flexible.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not going to go, I've run a handful of half marathons. I've never done a marathon yet. I'd like to do one just to check it off the list.
Because the list, right? It's that list thing. Yeah. Mentality.
Like, in terms of when I'm most fit, it's when I'm going out for a run 3 days a week. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. 3 or 4 miles. Like you're
using a bunch of different muscle groups, keeping loose, building some strength, obviously. And it feels good if you can do that kind of thing, like especially if you do it in the morning, like on a Saturday or something, because you come home, like the rest of the day, it's really, you get an endorphin boost. You just feel good. You know what I mean? I mean, movement feels good. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that a lot of people exercise for a lot of different reasons. Some are for the metrics, like you said, they want to burn 500 calories, they want that sweat. Other people are there for the community, the group play, and some people are there just to be with themselves and their emotions and
Yeah.
be in motion, be in flux.
I do like the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, Excel spreadsheets, up and right on the chart. So having Garmin or the wearables and the trackables is definitely attractive to me. The first thing I do when I get home, even though I already knew my time, is like to plug it in and look at it, look at my previous 3 runs, look at my friends' runs. Not even competitively, I just like to look at the numbers. So that's something cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Why do you enjoy coaching? You kind of mentioned that. That's not playing the sport itself, but what's the draw there?
I really like, I'm coaching pretty young kids, so they're basically coming to terms with what the sport is, learning the basic rules.
You're introducing them, right?
Getting their bodies used to doing those motions and movements. So with soccer, basically it was the progression, of seeing them learn these skills, dribbling and passing. And it's definitely a struggle at first for most kids, as it should be. I mean, no one's born usually, able to dribble through a series of cones. It's kind of a strange motion. Your feet are for walking, and kicking a ball is it's sort of a foreign concept. So, seeing them grow, and then I really like just getting to know the actual kids too. Some of these kids are the children that go to school, so I hear their names. They go to school with my kids or on the bus. So just getting like one other side of who connection. They are. Yeah. So that I can kind of be like, oh, when so-and-so talks about a person, like, oh, I had them in soccer. Like I know who they are, things like that. So, it's also a challenge. I like challenges, and for soccer, I found out pretty early on that I had to map out 3 or 4 drills and had a couple backup drills, because you go in thinking, okay, we'll just do a passing circle, we'll do a scrimmage, but you gotta have a plan, and you got to kind of have a progression, because they're kind of looking to you to build the base skills so when they're 12 and 14 years old, they're doing well. So there's a little bit of added pressure. I enjoy playing the sport, so I enjoy giving back. And yeah, I think I'll do it for a number of years, probably.
Do they
2
call
or 3
you
sports?
Do they call you coach?
Yeah, I think they mostly default to coach. Sometimes Coach Kerr or something like that, but sometimes just sort of hit the "Hey you," that must suffice. The first season of soccer, basically, everyone was pretty much masked the entire time for obvious reasons. So, and it was kind of hard to project and hard to hear what the kids were saying. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I didn't think I would enjoy it too much. I was initially very apprehensive, but I think in life, taking on challenges that you have those butterflies and that you're nervous about,
it's the only way to grow.
I think taking them on is almost always a good idea. So
basically what we both do today is different than it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So project 10 years into the future. Do you think your exercise routines will be the same, or are they going to evolve?
I think running will probably always be an important part of it, injuries notwithstanding. And I'm really liking the biking. I think having access to being able to walk in the basement and jump on and there be a live is maybe air quotes, but there's a class and you're part of a community, albeit digitally. I think I'll probably always have a bit of both. I could see myself playing indoor soccer on a men's 40+ team. I could also see myself doing kickball again in the near future. And then coaching. So, I mean, maybe
it's all on the table.
It sounds like a lot, honestly. I might be able to do quite about all that, but I mean, what about you? I mean, the home gym for you seems like a passion project that will grow and grow and grow.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's always a great idea to feel like you haven't peaked yet as like a athlete.
Keep improving, keep getting PRs.
A physical specimen, right? So it's all about the journey.
Specimen you are, buddy.
Yeah. With that, let's segue to the finance story. Ian, set the scene for us.
Yeah. So EV, electronic vehicles.
Electric, not electronic.
Electric. Sorry about that. So basically, what I'm thinking about here is the fact that, say what you want, we're at a huge inflection point. Public policy, government funding.
Oh yeah.
And I think general interest from consumers appears to be growing. The Super Bowl commercials that all of us just sort of experienced as a collective community. Every company now is essentially going feet first. You started out with a few rogue companies, I think you could even say, with Tesla and the Nissan Leaf for a while, and the Volt. Those were your 3 options. And now everybody's jumping in. You have trucks, You have the GMC and
All the big
Ford.
names, Ford.
Ford
Yep.
Lightning is going full immersion.
And it seems like they're committing to like now. This isn't like oh yep, in 15 years sort of thing, which is always what the talk was in the past, right?
I think it was 15 years, and now it's like 2.5 to 5 years. I mean, they are literally being built as
you
we
can
speak.
put your reservations down. You know,
It's going to take a lot of time to ramp up production. Obviously, we've seen the shortage of computer chips and the like really hampering this, because if this is going to be a huge
building
thing,
a new supply chain, right?
Yeah, it's a whole new thing. I mean, you have a catalytic converter, and now you have a battery. You had pistons, and then you have batteries. I mean, it's a whole thing, right?
Electric motors, yeah.
Electric motors. So I want to show. I want you, Mark, to kind of talk about where do you see this going? I mean, 5 years. What's going on?
Well, I mean, this is definitely the future, or it's even
this
the
is
present.
The future.
Really,
we determine that. I think.
I wish people would just. Some people are hesitant or don't understand or aren't getting on board. I mean, I don't own an electric vehicle yet. I do think they're too expensive, but I'm hoping that my current vehicle could get me to the point where the next vehicle I have, perhaps, is electric. You know, I think people are always concerned about this range anxiety thing, and it's a giant
running out of
fallacy.
juice on the turnpike.
Yeah, like electric vehicles can go 200, 300 plus miles on a quote unquote tank of gas, just like your
right. There's the same metric numbers.
And people, I mean, it's America. We love driving, but really 95% of people day to day drive 20 minutes to work and 20 minutes back home.
And they can guess between and they know how many miles it is within 1 or 2. I mean,
and what they do right now is once a week they fill up with gas, and they think,
exact same thing.
Oh, I have to do that. But no, it's different though, because you're going to charge at home, maybe your workplace, but every night at home. So you actually will save time. You don't have to go to a gas station theoretically ever, right? Yes, when you have to drive to Florida or Texas or wherever for your long road trips, you know, it'll be a different issue. You got to plan your trip. You got to take a break, you know.
I do think, to jump in slightly here, that I think when the percentage of Americans who own electric vehicles gets high enough, the gas station as we know it, the charging station will also evolve, because there's big business there. There's a booming industry that's going to be people who need to charge their car outside of the home. You know, if there's enough consumers that have this need, the market will follow suit. They're not going to be building unnecessary gas stations.
No, companies will realize there's a way to make money. And so,
right. I mean, I think you have an interesting point that potentially fueling up your vehicle, you know, on your road trip might take longer than the quick gas fill up.
It does.
But I mean, that's part and parcel with this technology. I mean,
you do that once per year.
Right. I mean, but yeah, if you're mostly charging it in your garage, which, I mean, there's a plethora of products and companies that are jumping on the bandwagon of the wall box, charging faster, charging smarter.
It's just like it's like getting internet in your home. It just takes transition time. You know what I mean? And it's not like gas is going to go away. You still have the diesel pump at every gas station, you know, so you're going to have a hybrid gas and electric charging stations or whatever they're going to look like, you know,
more hybrid, like you said, more hybrid things.
The big thing that has to happen, I think, at least in the US, is like these pickup trucks have to be successful, right? Because that's the most popular thing. And
all the Amazon trucks, most of the big rigs out there, like we have to get the percentage, 5, 10, 50% of those, that entire fleet needs to become electric, I think. And it sounds like it's going to. I mean, the Ford Lightning is envisioning selling that to a lot of industrial fleets.
It makes sense for the companies. They're going to save money in the long run. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it, which is why they've been resisting until now, I guess. What I think I wish they wouldn't do is they think electric vehicle, they think Tesla, they think they don't like Elon Musk, or they think, oh, they're too expensive, or, oh, they're, you know, green hippies, or, oh, they have these unsafe driverless vehicles. It's like, that's like 8 different issues combined into one thing. So I want electric vehicle to not mean Tesla, right?
I want to talk as little as possible driverless vehicles for the next 5 years.
That's different. It's different.
It's a tech that needs to happen. I'm totally for that eventually.
Yeah.
But right now, I think the focus and the momentum needs to be on getting more vehicles in the hands of Americans that are electric. And I mean, I just thought of this right now, but why do you think, you know, 2022? Why do you think it's now? Like 6 months ago, a year ago? I mean, it wasn't anywhere near this sort of zeitgeist culturally.
Combination of the we don't want to talk about politics, but Democratic president, pushing their
I
agenda.
mean, climate change comes into play.
Climate
Obviously.
change is bigger
You
and
can't
bigger.
not participate in that.
Younger generation usually cares more about these things than an older generation, as like a generality. So as they age, they have more interest in it. All those different things. So plus they're cool,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, yeah, I think Tesla started their journey by kind of making a cool car. It happened to be battery powered, electric. And yes, I think initially sort of a sports car model came into play, but now, the commercials I just saw 4 or 5 mid-sized SUVs, trucks that are electric. I mean, totally different aesthetic.
Yep, there'll be winners and losers,
And it'll appeal to a larger percentage. Not everyone wants a sports car.
Yeah.
I mean, America is the land of the truck drivers. People have trucks. And so I think, do you think that your average Joe or Jane who's been buying a Ford F-50 and the grandfather's been buying it, do you think those people are going to be buying the new electric fleet vehicles?
No, I don't, but their kid will.
Right. It's almost like it doesn't matter because there's a whole new.
Yeah, it'll take a generation. So
yeah. You have in the show notes that you have Norway. We have examples where this model works.
That's the other example. Or people always complain about, it's not going to work in the cold, right? Because they don't charge.
Oh, right.
Scandinavia, and Norway, and Sweden, all these countries have some of the highest like electric vehicle
huge percentage of people.
Yes, because that's another fallacy. There's more out there that people say, the battery's going to catch on fire, because every battery fire that gets that occurs is blown up in the media, but you don't see every single time there's a gasoline fire from a car
it'd be all over,
crashing,
it'd be constant. It happens all the time. It's happening right now on the highway somewhere.
Yeah.
So I guess my take here is that we're at an inflection point. Like I said previous, this is going to be the top or 2 or 3 automotive story for the next 10 years. And I'm excited. I think this is great.
Embrace the future.
Embrace the future.
With that, let's drive into our next story, Ian. I know.
Yeah, let's do it. Video game, take it away.
What makes a great video game?
Indeed.
Story, the challenge, competition,
right? The graphics.
Yeah. So for me, my favorite games back in high school was that socialness, right? Playing Halo on a LAN party, super fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get a little older, and I kind of it's about story for me. RPGs, I was trying to think of favorite game of all time, which is always kind of a silly discussion to have anyway. But I loved Knights of the Old Republic. I like the Elder Scrolls games.
Mm-hmm.
But what those things have in common for me is being transported somewhere, right? And that's not just for video games, it's for a book or a film or a movie, right? Any piece of, I guess, art, just being enthralled with a new universe, a new story, new characters, that's kind of my short answer. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely think that story, character development is huge. But it's also, I guess, there's different tiers of video games out there. There's the games like God of War, where it pulls at your heartstrings. It's an emotional, it's a huge story arc where characters grow and they learn. And
you're not even you're playing it, you're playing that the action, but you're also just being a participant in the story, right?
Right. It's sort of a cinematic movie. It's also there's real dialogue, there's voice acting, it's a whole production.
Versus
the Fortnite games,
yeah,
where it's dopamine hit, 20 minutes in, out, you jump in a game. There's no character development. It's basically just fun in terms of just it's a quick hit. Like I said before, you jump in and the objective, they're quick objectives. It's 20-minute games, if that even. And, they're both video games. They offer very different experiences. And frankly, I find myself enjoying both. I definitely nowadays am doing more of I have 20 free minutes. Let's just play a quick round or two.
Yeah.
Whereas, God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, these are games where you want to let yourself become enthralled.
You want to be immersed, right?
You want to be immersed. You have there's a lot of content in the game. I mean, those kind of games are massive. I mean, I'm sort of stunned by just the collective effort all the people that work at these studios put into the games, from the graphics to the story. I mean, it's definitely impressive.
So we talked about the evolution of driving technology, right? What about video
Yes.
games, virtual reality? It's been promised for the last 30 years. It's around
Yep.
the corner. What
I
do you
mean, every
think?
major console at some point in time, had a VR component. They had those damn ski goggles,
Yeah, I know. I love
and
that
they
you call them
had
that. Yeah.
the very strange sort of like two-handed controller thing. I
Yeah.
mean, basically, VR games have been around for 5 to 8 years, but what I come back to is like the main titles, your Destiny, your
Big
Halo,
AAA.
the
Yeah.
AAA games that cost you $70 now,
Big
frankly.
studios.
Those games are not VR titles.
No.
There's no VR component. They're still on the TV and the controller, and I'm watching and I'm playing and I'm moving.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried VR, like the little game on your phone, and it's just kind of, it's like a novelty.
Yeah.
Or you can kind of do them at the arcade a little bit, but they're not fully
Mhm.
fleshed.
They're
things yet.
they're not the games that you think of when you think of games with a capital G, right?
Right.
So basically, are we going to be playing Destiny 4 in the metaverse? I mean, is it going to be with the goggles? I'm not seeing any indication that.
I don't think so.
I mean, also, I don't know. I mean, the metaverse right now is like a totally different animal, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm not very hot on it, but yeah.
I'm sure that as time evolves, we'll get more VR games. But I mean, essentially, you have one of the Switch by Nintendo is a very popular console. And I mean, basically, I haven't seen Nintendo use the word VR in any of, like, I don't think they're interested in that.
Maybe it's like everything else. Maybe it's not us. Maybe it's for the next generation, Ian,
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not sure, but
I just can't see having, you can put a console in your room or a computer, in a desk, but having your VR set up, especially with the way it is, it's got to become wireless for it to become in a house, first of all. And then when you're doing that,
once you have those goggles on, I mean,
the visual's not quite there yet,
right.
I don't know.
The graphics aren't as good. The movement's not as good. I mean, there are a lot of really talented people and a lot of money going into VR. So I'm not saying that it's not going to adapt and grow. And by 2025,
that's 3 years.
You could be completely wrong.
No, you're not wrong. You're right.
I'm right. Of course I'm right. So basically, I mean, what's your big takeaway on video games?
Takeaway? Okay, yes. So forget VR. Video games, it's an escapism, but an escapism in a positive sense, right? There's no reason that you can't enjoy your life and then go somewhere and experience other kind of world. But maybe it's just 20 minutes with a friend too. I don't know.
I mean, I think you hit it right there. I think that the way that I experience video games now is an additional way to connect with people and friends, So the Fortnite example, it's good. It's fun to play with buddies for half an hour, and you can play and you can talk, and it's not super like, you don't really care what happens per se. You're just kind of in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all right. So let's go to the actual takeaways now.
Yeah.
So for sports, I mean, it sounds simple. It sounds trite, but it's so true. Find the activities that bring you joy and do what makes you happy. But don't be afraid to try new things. Our finance story, gasoline vehicles to be the next generation. Will they be what stick shifts were to us? Time will tell. And then our video game story, art comes in many forms, embrace the digital. I think video games are a huge part of our culture. They're certainly going to undergo a transformation, but I think that good games, for them to stick around and to be remembered, will always need a good story and great characters.
Wonderful. Thanks for the conversation, Ian. I'm Mark.
Yep. So you know where to find us.
Yes.
We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Spotify, and
follow and subscribe. We appreciate
follow and subscribe. And I'm Ian.
And I'm Mark.
And this was
Let's get into it.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The content in this podcast is not intended to be a research report, financial, or life advice, and does not constitute an endorsement of any product, service, individual, or organization.